let's open this public meeting, 9:02. We're ready, Madam Clerk. We are here to discuss, review, and consider lot major subdivision in zones 161-23, Seth Altmeyer, replat of parcel 3, Nelson Home Tracts. Okay. Do you want to do your presentation before I open the hearing, or do you want me to open the hearing?
Open the hearing, and then that's usually first.
Okay. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to open a public hearing.
So moved.
Okay, I'll second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Cassidy. Here. Commissioner Bill.
Yes.
Commissioner Zimmerman.
Yes.
Okay. So we are in public hearing. Let's hear from the applicant, representative presentation, and then questions from the board.
Chairman, I would step in here as administrator that in these cases here, it is typical for a more major subdivision to the applicant go first and present his application. These are pretty straightforward and simple, and so we also routinely do it where I present the staff report first. There's really not usually much of anything else to discuss after that, but if there is, there's certainly an opportunity for questions.
And the applicant's not here today.
The applicant, but the representative for the applicant is here.
Okay.
So,
all right.
If you'd like, I would.
Would you please proceed?
I'm Dan Martinson, administrator. This is a major subdivision of 2 lots in the natural resource zone. It is case number S-161-23. It is a major subdivision due to the fact that the lot sizes are below 2 acres. And so it did not meet the criteria for a minor. And so we did make a trip through Planning and Zoning Commission. And so this project is, we took an application in May 16th. By June, we put out an application to various agencies that are required. We scheduled a we'll go back. We did all the noticing in mid-July. And for a hearing on August 3rd. On August 3rd, we had a hearing in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission where this was presented and testimony was taken, and the Planning and Zoning Commission ultimately decided to recommend approval, and that's in the record there. After that, we scheduled this meeting for today, and here we are. So this applicant is Seth Altmeyer. The property is located up Pine Creek. That's 1588 Pine Creek. So basically an existing 2 lots that have had previous housing unit on both lots, and so this is correcting an old non-conforming situation. Not non-compliant, but non-conforming because it's been there for quite some time. So the application is for that subdivision because the lot sizes were less than the 2 acres. That's again why we were going through this process. The zoning out in that area is natural resource zone. Surrounding zoning is the same. Surrounding uses are similar and the same, rural residential and recreation. The parent parcel was just over an acre. And so it's 2 lots, approximately 0.292 acres and 0.724 acres for the 2 lots. The minimum lot size in this area is 7,700 square feet. So both of these lots are far and away exceeding those, so they meet those requirements. There are existing structures, residential uses established on both properties. The vegetation out there is pretty flat and typical grass. It's on that flat part between the road and the river. The comprehensive plan in this area is designated as the West Shoshone Corridor. Historically, most of the development pressures are coming to this area. The comprehensive plan designates that we want more residential, industrial, and commercial land and mixed uses, so this fits right in with that. And obviously we've had an established use for quite some time, so this is just really clarifying the boundary lines around those uses. The location of this property is within the area of city impact for the city of Pinehurst, and they were contacted for comment. They responded with no concerns or requirements. Water supply and wastewater disposal, due to the existing uses, the Pinehurst Water District submitted a will serve letter confirming that the lots are currently being served. Panhandle Health District responded with a letter confirming that both sites have been historically served by an approved septic system. They would need some documentation of the will serve letter for the plat, but other than that, it was a recognition and clarification that the existing systems were in place and already approved. Same thing for access and transportation. The existing driveway has already been in place for the two sites off of Pine Creek Road, and Public Works Director responded with no concerns there. They were existing driveways and there was no issues with that access. Similar for Fire District, because of the existing uses, they weren't physically, or they weren't technically solicited, but in a discussion to confirm that the fire chief was not concerned with the established uses. And typically we don't do that if there's already established uses there, and based on this, there's no topography here, there's no restriction of access, there wouldn't be any reason to believe that ambulance or fire wouldn't be able to respond in their normal way. So if there were any of those conflicts, we would have certainly got something more definitive from them. Stormwater, there's no requirements for stormwater at this time. There's no provision, there's no planning for any site disturbance or infrastructure or development. Everything's already there. Design standards, the proposed subdivision meets those design standards for lot size and configuration and positioning, meets all those requirements of our county code. Regulatory floodplain, this property is located within the floodplain, and as such there are some specific requirements for plat notations and special notes on the plat, and you'll see that in the conditions of approval where it requires that special note. Bunker Hill Superfund Overlay District. It is within that area. Mary Renborg responded with a letter saying, based on the fact that there's no proposed changes and there's no proposed infrastructure, that nothing is required at this time. Obviously, any future development would require permits from them as well. As of the writing of this report, we'd had one public inquiry, but no submission of testimony or comments. And then as the Planning and Zoning Commission had their hearing, no public testimony was offered at that hearing as well. It goes on in our staff report to list the applicable legal standards, which is our comprehensive plan, the subdivision code, the zoning code, and the floodplain overlay district code requirements. Our basic staff analysis is that we've met all the requirements of the code, and based on the application and discussions and agency responses, that we certainly recommend that all the application procedures have been met. As mentioned before, Planning and Zoning Commission has heard this and made a formal recommendation, and so that's section 5 is based on the hearing before the Planning and Zoning Commission. The findings of fact, conclusions of law set forth in these documents. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommends that the Board of County Commissioners approve this application for a subdivision for this case, S-161-23. Section 6 is the recommended conditions of approval. They are the same conditions that were in front of Planning and Zoning Commission. There's no particular changes there. There's no particular odd ones other than the special note for FEMA map and the special note for Panhandle Health District, which is a typical requirement of every plat. We also put in there section 7, the recommended conclusions of law. These are the same conclusions the Planning and Zoning Commission determined in the affirmative for each one of these. And that would be your task to do that. And then we put a recommended motion in the back there if you come to that conclusion. Beyond that, that's the extent of my presentation. If you have particular questions for me and or the surveyor applicant representative, we'd be glad to answer.
My first question would be that the presence of the dike there does not take this out of the floodplain, or
it does not. There's a brief explanation back in 2008-ish. When the new maps came out, FEMA had removed the effect of most levees throughout the United States, particularly after Katrina came through. And so much of Pinehurst is in a floodplain now that before then was considered a C zone, was not in a floodplain, but now is considered in. So it is still a floodplain. It's an AE zone. In this particular case, it's not terribly deep there. We've done plenty of building there. We're just a matter of building out. So, and it's an AE zone, so it allows for building and development over the levee into the river is the floodway designated area. So, okay, the long answer is no.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board?
I don't have any.
Now, on these two homes, they were there beforehand.
Correct.
and so they're basically making this legal by splitting them. Were they owned by the same person? Is that why they're splitting them? And then they're splitting them in order to sell the other one?
Potentially.
Potentially. Okay.
I don't know if that's their immediate desire, but it was for that purpose. Yeah.
Okay.
But you mentioned two homes. Really, it's a home and a shop, isn't it?
There's a shop there with living space in it.
With living space. Okay. Okay. All right. Any questions? Anything you would like to add?
I think Dan covered it sufficiently.
Okay.
Okay. We have no questions, and we have no public testimony today. So we have no. Do we have any rebuttal?
None.
We have none to rebut. Okay. At this time, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Oh, seconded?
All seconded. I said I'd entertain a motion. So you moved. You seconded.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All in roll call.
Commissioner Cassidy.
Here.
Commissioner Bill.
Yes.
Commissioner Zimmerman.
Here.
All right. So we are closed the public hearing. It's time for deliberation by the commission. Does anybody have any thoughts or concerns before we make a motion of some sort?
I don't.
No thoughts or concerns. Okay. All right. In that case, I would entertain a motion. Does anybody?
No motion to approve the. Do we have to do the case number?
It was page 6 as the recommended motion. If you chose to just read that. Should be the last page.
That page 6.
With the signatures on it.
Okay. Based on the findings of facts and conclusions of law set forth in these documents, the recommendation of the Shoshone County Planning and Zoning Commission, and additional testimony received, the Shoshone County Board of Commissioners motion that the application for subdivision case numbers S-161-23, plat of parcel 3, Nelson Homes Tracts subdivision, be approved
With the proposed
with the
conditions.
proposed conditions.
Okay. That's a fair motion. Sounds well written.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries unanimously. We made your job easy today. And with that, I think we will adjourn this meeting.